On today's show, Andrei gives criminals too many good ideas.
And Billy makes sure we will never be monetized.
And we are live. Hello, welcome to The Billy and Andrei Show, the only show that makes you say, oh look, it's Billy and Andrei, and they're drunk again. What are they doing? Get them out of my pub. Anyway.
Who let them in again? I thought they're bad.
How are you, my friend? It's been a while.
It's been a while. It's been a while.
Should we tell the audience why, give them a peek behind the curtain as to why we didn't upload last week?
Because we drank. Well, not together.
Specifically because you drank.
Yeah, that one's on me.
I said, dude, it's going to take some time for me to research something, to come up with an episode. I'm like frying my brain right now. And you were like, hey, dude, don't worry about it. Just don't burn yourself out. Be cool. I got this, right?
No, you had 2 gigs, one after the other as well.
That is true.
So it's been a bit of both, right?
Yeah.
I was too drunk on Monday to function. I was hanging. I wasn't drunk. So I wasn't functioning almost at all that day.
Drunctioning.
Yeah, drunctioning, yeah. Well, at least that proves I'm not a functional alcoholic.
True.
Because, you know, if I would
the functional part, that's completely wrong.
Yeah, alcoholic fine, but not functional alcoholic. So that probably will stop me from drinking like that.
Speaking of functioning drug addicts, Elon Musk was back in the news, as he always is recently.
I love when he comes on the news. It's so exciting.
Yeah, so it's been widely known for a long time that Elon Musk is a ketamine head. Everyone knows that.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, don't pretend you haven't seen
it.
I'm
trying to bring different perspectives to this, okay?
Perspective of someone who doesn't pay attention, yeah?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Elon Musk was... everyone knows he's a cat head. Everyone knows he's a complete freak, Nazi, whatever. But he recently got... there was a report published of the exact extent of his drug usage. The guy was on everything.
Was it?
It was about like 20 different drugs he was on. Most of them are class A's, like high level illegal. It was like, it wasn't just the ketamine, which was ridiculously large. It was like, he gets like, basically he's got all the signs of like a habitual, like ketamine, full on addict, needs to go to rehab. But he's also on cocaine, ecstasy, like he had like basically a buffet of pills and all sorts of shit every day.
Here's the question. Because I don't exactly know. And it's going to probably sound like, is Andrei trying to score some ketamine right now? But isn't ketamine by prescription only?
Yes, in a very, very specific amount. Like, it's a very, very specific set of cases where they use it for extreme depression, like treatment-resistant stuff.
Okay, so you will need to know a doctor to get that.
Yes.
Or get them off the street, but then you don't know what you're getting.
But bear in mind, you know, Elon lives in America.
Oh,
and to quote Ozzy Osbourne, if you've got enough money in America, you can buy a doctor into doing anything.
Which is fair.
Yes. It's how rock stars maintain their like prescription pill habits, basically. They've got a doctor they pay to do shit.
I literally watched the other day. You probably heard of Ray William Johnson?
Yeah.
He's big on this.
He's been
big his whole life. And it took him a minute to actually do this video, because now he does like 9-minute videos, and he picks somebody to pick on. But he's not picking on them. He's just calling them out for being a horrible human. And he was talking about the guy from Friends, Patrick.
Patrick, was that the name of the actor? Or?
Yeah, well, name of the actor. Well, of course.
Of course, we've got to look up now.
I love how I go into.
Can we just use their friend's name? Can we just call it Ross? Is it Ross?
No, it was Chandler.
Oh,
the guy they played Chandler.
Mike Perry.
Mike Perry.
Yeah, he died of like heart problems and shit.
No,
didn't
he died because a doctor gave him way too many drugs and didn't watch him when he was taking them. Because his whole career he suffered of depression, and he went into alcohol, and then he went into drugs, and the last doctor that was prescribing him everything and anything and the whole shabam, he gave him large enough doses that he needed to be supervised when he was taking them, because he was dozing off and whatever. And the reason he died is he dozed off and he was in his jacuzzi and he drowned.
Yeah.
So
I thought it was a heart attack, but
no, that's what it was. Like it was on Ray William Johnson, so he did an episode really recently.
Oh wow!
That's why I'm saying, because we were talking about drugs, and the guy he bought doctors. He had two doctors, actually.
Yeah, like Michael Jackson had like a bunch of doctors, like Prince did as well.
Yeah.
If you're rich in America, you can buy a doctor and they will basically do whatever you want.
But you would think that these doctors that you buy, they will actually look after you. I mean, not look after you in the idea that I'll look after you by giving you the drugs that you want. Look after you as in I'll supervise you.
Yeah, make sure that you don't die, which is kind of the point.
You're kind of killing your stream of income.
Yeah, I mean, even drug dealers don't want people to OD. You know, they want you to stay alive and keep buying their shit.
Yeah.
You know, which dovetails nicely into our topic for today. See, a reason I brought up Elon Musk, you know, basically spending, you know, the last year or two ruining his life due to being high massively all the time and making terrible decisions. I thought we'd look at the drugs which aren't talked about so much, ones that are maybe a bit obscure, ones that people don't always take necessarily for fun, but end up taking anyway. We're looking at the drugs that are the worst things.
Okay. And just to say, this is not the list of things you should try.
No, this is a list of things that you should fucking avoid. In fact, you should avoid them so hard that if you hear about them, that's probably a sign that you've gone to some dark places and met some dark things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So these are a bunch of substances that cannot be sort of, you know, argued as good for, because there's arguments to legalize lots of things, you know.
Yeah.
Legalize weed, that's a big one.
Yeah.
Probably should have happened already. Fun fact, did you know that most of the world's medical grade cannabis is grown right here in the UK?
Should I say no and just be like, oh, I didn't know, or that?
No, you
I actually knew. I actually knew that one.
Yeah.
I'm just like, because we're gonna talk about a few drugs, and I'm like, should I pretend I don't know them in case my mom ever listens to this? She'll probably have a hard time understanding us because it's in English. But
yeah, I was gonna say, I'm not sure how good your mom's English is, but there's a bunch of stuff that people don't necessarily know about drugs, and England has been one of the forefronts in sort of drugs research in like the last 50 years.
Because it's so depressing here.
Yes. No, basically. No. Otherwise, like, you know, we'd have tons of information coming out of Russia right now about like the harms of vodka. You know, but that's not how it works. But
see, that's...
well, to be honest, nothing's coming out of Russia except misery right now anyway.
Yeah, well, they're foot out the door, so it's great. We're not talking about that. Just
no. We'll not get distracted by shitting on the Russians, you know, any more than, you know, is viable.
Any more than Putin's already doing it.
So yeah, I've only come up with, there's only 3 substances we're going to talk about. There's probably a whole bunch more that we can look at on a different date, but I wanted to find the ones that are, you know, if you're taking these, especially if you're taking them on purpose, it means you're at the bottom of the well. Like, this is your dark time. This is a dark time in your life if you're taking or even thinking about taking these things. So the first one, as we brought up...
Oh, you flopped your hands. You're like, this is happening.
You are leading me in very, very well today. The first one we're going to talk about is spice.
Yeah.
Spice, a.k.a. synthetic weed, a.k.a. fake weed, a.k.a. black mamba, a.k.a. the reason why some lab students should do better... They should do better background checks on lab students. That's all I'm saying.
Was it created by lab students?
It kind of was. It was created in a lab by a guy called John Huffman, who's kind of like an expert. Like, he was like an organic chemist. I'm not entirely sure what that means in specific, but like, he basically does, like, you know, chemistry of organic shit. He was tasked to invent synthetic weed in order so we could use it for research without having to, you know, use illegal substances. You see?
What? So he was tasked to create synthetic weed so they can use it for research. But why wouldn't you just use weed for research?
Because that's illegal, Andrei. Don't you understand? Like, we can't break the law when we're doing science. That would be, you know, unethical.
Oh, I see that. I see that. That would be a problem.
Plus, you know, what, you know, really need to do weed research. I mean, just ask people on the street.
Oh, yeah. Have a walk down the street, Billy. There's that one guy. Every time we walk to the pub, I'm like, where is he getting his stuff?
Yeah, you can smell it literally from,
dude,
like,
I get
3
secondhand high every single time I pass it. I pass his fat secondhand high every single time. I'm like, woo.
Oh, all of a sudden I feel light, and I really want to sit down and eat some cookies, you know?
Yeah, pretty much. Like, I don't know why he's taking. Please go on. Stop distracting you.
But anyway, So, how many types of chemicals do you think that there are in this synthetic weed? I'm covering my notes so you can't see them.
Is it in double digits?
Higher.
In triple digits?
Mm-hmm.
Triple digits.
Don't
tell me the number. Wait. You say up or down, right? We're playing that game.
We're playing up and down.
Let's play a game. I want to say 127.
Close. Higher.
137.
Very close. Higher.
147.
140. That was identified in 2015, so that's quite a while ago. There's probably been some more. All of these different combinations of chemicals, they have little like 2 or 3 letter like annexes on the front.
Yeah,
affixes, something. But that sort of determines who invented them.
Yeah.
So if the compound is called JWH, that means it was discovered by Mr. John William Huffman. So there's a huge load of chemicals. You know, I couldn't possibly count them all or describe any of their effects.
I have follow-up questions.
Mm-hmm.
If you
go for it.
If you care to indulge me,
do your distinguished face, yes.
So did he try them to know he can get high from them?
Never get high on your own supply is very, very true in the scientific community, as well as I don't think that he did, but he did test their effects on animals a lot. So feel bad for the mice, guys. They have a rough life.
Well, honestly, allegedly, I tried spice, some sort of form of spice, the one that you can buy it off the counter.
Oh, right.
That fake ass weed when I was younger. The trip was really unpleasant.
It is.
I mean, I really don't like drugs because, I don't like how it affects my brain and whatever. So I don't normally do drugs. But when I tried that because I was in the sort of environment, I was really scared. Yeah. Not gonna lie to you.
So the effects of all of these chemicals sort of fall into the same sort of pattern that you're describing there. Basically, weed has a habit of sort of making people anxious and making people paranoid and making people hallucinate. If you have enough of it, maybe people hallucinate, maybe.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily true of all weed. With the fake weed, it is. Basically, it's like, the weed that you ever seen the film Reefer Madness from the 30s?
No, I have not.
Basically, it's like, one person takes one toke on a joint, like this nice young lady, and all of a sudden she's like stripping naked and like, downing bottles of whiskey and getting into sexual liaisons with mad piano players. Basically,
so was that movie made to scare people?
Yes, okay. Yes, it's a piece of propaganda made by the American government. Yes,
it sounds like it was.
It really was, and it's very funny today. But the stuff that you see in Reefer Madness, like a guy takes one hit on a joint and like kills his whole family, that's more of a Spice thing. Spice actually does that.
Okay.
It's really, really, it's uber weed. It's really, really nasty shit. And the funny thing is, me and you grew up basically in its heyday. The heyday, because I would never admit publicly to soliciting drugs for the use of recreation. However, allegedly.
Wait, however, no, that was a poor use of allegedly because you said I wouldn't. So please go on.
Whatever.
Sorry.
Yeah, double negative. Whatever. Everybody knew growing up, like if you were trying to get some weed, you don't want it sprayed. And no one would really say what sprayed was. Sprayed could mean a lot of things. Sometimes it was sprayed with like, stuff to make it heavier. Sometimes it was sprayed with stuff to make it stronger.
So what, did they literally give you like sprayed with
fake weed on the real weed to make the real weed stronger? Yes.
Wow.
That's the kind of shit.
So why don't you just buy better? Oh, because you didn't have better weed.
Because it's England,
Okay.
And
well, wait,
we were kids.
Wasn't back there England? Weren't they the number one creators of drugs? So
yeah, still like we still made a lot of it, but
they probably didn't have that much weed.
The street. Yeah,
I can see that.
If you look at like any songs about weed at the time, especially the work of the Welsh legends, Goldie Looking Chain, you will hear about this
Goldie Looking Chain.
Goldie Looking Chain, yes.
Oh, Goldie.
Yeah,
because I genuinely heard Goldie
Looking Chain. To be fair, they do look a bit goggy.
Oh,
whatever that means. But that's probably a racial slur. I don't know.
If it is, I'm sorry.
Yeah, if it is, sorry. But yeah, those guys basically, they wrote a song called Soap Bar, where like with the classic, philosophical line, I smoke the soap bar with lots of bits of plastic, I leave that shit in because it tastes fantastic. That's the kind of weed we were getting in England at the time.
Oh, they sound cool.
They're great. But it was all heavily sprayed by spice.
Okay.
And because of that, spice has now become a serious, serious problem. It binds to the same receptors and everything as weed, so it's kind of like weed in a functional sense, but it's a bit like mirror molecules. It binds to the same receptors, does something completely different. Mainly a lot stronger, a lot more aggressive, and also addictive. It causes withdrawal, which regular weed doesn't. I don't know how they pulled that off, but they did.
It's probably that little bit of heroin that they left in there.
Just some heroin left in the jar, was it?
So he tested heroin first, and then he's like, "Oh, should I wash these jars?"
Nah,
it's fine.
Get the grad student to do it.
I'm sure nothing bad can happen from a little bit of heroin left over in my weed.
Yeah. So the main problematic effects of spice, and it's not that weed can't cause this. Weed can, but there's usually a very specific genetic sort of makeup that you have to have. If you have any schizophrenia, schizoaffective disorder, any kind of psychotic illness in your family, don't do weed. Just don't. It's not going to agree with you. It's probably going to make you long-term mentally ill. Spice does that to basically everybody. It doesn't really matter who. So we have... bit of background. I still do, but I used to work as a on the ground mental health support worker.
Yeah.
In the intensive care unit.
Yeah.
We got a lot of people in for spice, and spice causes very, very stubborn psychosis. And when I say stubborn, I'll give you a brief example of what I mean. So there was a guy that we had in. We got him in because he tried to burn down his boss's house, I think, something like that.
Probably deserved it.
Probably did. Probably didn't pay him. Whatever. But this guy was in there for about 2 months. He smoked so much, he smoked quite a bit of spice before he went on this attack that he did. Now, it's kind of difficult to imagine a stoner getting into a fight.
Yeah,
right?
Because you can't.
It's fucking impossible.
Only if you fight for the last donut in the fridge.
Literally, that's the only... Yeah, you might get into a fight over, the last bite of Ben & Jerry's. That's about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, spice doesn't do that. It makes you incredibly paranoid and prone to violent outbursts, which is what this guy did.
So he goes from, "Where's my donut, man?" to, "You took my donut.
You took my donut, and you're trying to steal children. I'm going to, for the sake of God, I have to murder you."
Use the M word.
Sorry. I'm going to try and not get us banned one of these days, but not today. But the spooky thing about spice psychosis in particular... I remember I was playing chess with this guy, just, he was fine. He'd been there for a couple of weeks, it was easing out of his system. And in the middle of the game, just stood up, eyes sort of closed, just walked to the exit door of the ward, sat down and started taking his clothes off. We were just playing chess and having a nice conversation, then boom, off he was back in La La Land again.
Wow.
And that lasted for a good couple of hours until we could get him out of it. And this was 2 weeks to 3 weeks after he'd been smoking the spice.
So it stays in your system that long.
It really does. And the mental health lock-on effects can just last forever. You could just randomly pop back into psychosis, which is bloody terrifying, to be honest. It's a really, really scary thing to watch happen, because it doesn't usually happen like that.
I bet it was.
Usually when people are in psychosis, you can sort of tell already. They don't slip in and out of it like that. Usually they're either, sort of in psychosis, or they're on the edge of psychosis, or they're feeling paranoid, or you can still talk to them. There's levels to it.
Yeah.
This is going from 0 to 100 without, in a second. I was genuinely like, what the fuck is this stuff? Because, boy.
Well, you reckon, I mean, I don't know if you know, you think it's just that all of a sudden something switched in his brain, and the molecules started affecting him again to a certain degree. It's probably not studied enough to actually have an answer to that.
If it is studied in that way, I don't have a pharmacology degree, so I wouldn't be able to decipher it. I can look through the words, but the words are gibberish to me.
It's like me with dyslexia, man. we can finally relate on that.
I know. If you, sometimes Wikipedia does this, where it's just here's the pharmacokinetics of the situation, and it's all nerd shit. Cannot understand all of it. What the hell is a muscarine? Stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, I couldn't explain to you exactly why that happens, but like the whole body is full of like various receptors that THC will cling onto.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, so it might be possible that there's some sort of delayed reaction, or it just stays in your system somehow.
Yeah, or it was nudged somewhere and it just moved position.
Yeah,
I think like a blood clot for some. I don't know why. I imagine like a blood clot.
Maybe, but in your brain. You know,
in your brain. I mean,
well, no, that's not a blood clot in your brain. Although it can cause like severe heart issues as well. So
yeah, because it's from somebody that allegedly tried. I didn't try. What? I was. It wasn't.
You thought you were going to have a heart attack, right?
No, everything was sort of. It wasn't hurting, but everything was moving, but I wasn't moving. And as in, my whole body felt like it was moving, but I wasn't moving.
Right, so like a time dilation.
I do not know what it was, and then my heart. I had at that point I was already a smoker for a good few years, but I thought something's growing in my lungs, and it was, dude. Again, there's a reason I don't do drugs.
Yeah, I can completely understand.
It's
that
like,
oh God, man, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I didn't realize that you'd actually come across this before.
Yeah,
you know.
well, it was literally sold. I was year one in the UK. It was right before meeting my missus, and I was hanging up with a weird crowd, and they're like, "Oh, we can buy some drugs from the literally." I don't want to say exactly where it was.
An undisclosed location.
Undisclosed location. It was literally a shop. It was a weed shop. Weed, quotation mark.
Yeah,
weed shop.
Yeah, those weed quote-unquote shops that we have over here.
The ones that now are selling CBD.
Yeah.
Which doesn't do anything. But
and horny goat weed. They always sell horny goat weed, whatever that is.
Well, it's probably some sort of spice, because they can change the name. Like, they can spray with different sort of chemicals to give you a high effect. But because they change the chemicals all the time, they can resell it saying that it's not that, it's something else.
Yeah, you've hit on a like serious problem with like spice in general, because it's become a huge problem in prisons, especially.
Yeah.
For one reason and one reason only. You can spray it on basically anything. Like, you can spray it on notes, bits of paper, you know, toothbrushes. Like, oh, hey, I brought you some snacks, and they're all just laced with, you know, spice. So it's basically impossible to stop them getting in and out of prisons. I've got a little factoid for you here. 62 of the 129 deaths in prison for a 5-year period, 62 of them, basically half, were caused by spice.
Fuck.
Yeah, it's very difficult to overdose on weed. It's very easy to overdose on spice.
Yeah, because it's pure chemicals. It's like...
Yeah, it's pure synthetic stuff, you know, just made up in a lab by a guy who now regrets it.
So it's pretty much like smoking plastic.
Yeah, but worse, because the plastic isn't designed to make your brain leak out of your ears. This stuff is. The man who invented it, John Huffman, basically admitted, like, quite publicly that he fucked up. And he also said that he now campaigns for the legalization of weed in the UK. Because
he's like, can we please give them something else?
Yeah, it's just like, no, like, this fake shit is much more dangerous than the real shit. Like, can we just get this out of the way, please?
But they could make so much money if they legalize weed.
Oh, yeah, we could.
The whole infrastructure is already there.
Yep.
People will already buy it anyway. There will be no more drug dealers. You'll kill the business so many drug dealers. So all of a sudden you don't have people actually doing things illegal. Oh, dude, it's...
Yeah, see, there's a, you know, simple solution to a lot of society's problems. It's just that people are, you know, politicians are too cowardly to actually do it.
I mean, I think that will fix the budget.
It probably would.
And put a slightly higher tax, and the money from that higher tax, give it to the NHS. And then...
That's what they did with cigarettes. You know?
But... Oh, did you see the French actually ban cigarettes in streets now?
Oh, really? What?
You can't legally smoke on the street.
Oh, dude, they're going to riot so hard.
Like, genuinely, they run out of things, because that's what you always think of a Frenchman, you know, having a cigarette on the street, being angry. He's just an angry man now. So you
took just angrily vaping.
Not even vape. No.
Oh, they banned vapes as well.
I think so.
Oh god, Macron is just asking to be like, you know, be guillotined.
So his whole culture. He just destroyed his whole culture, because that's what it was.
That's besmirch. Like, next is he going to ban wine? You know, moldy cheese.
Oh,
you know,
if they bomb, I will go to France and go in the streets.
Yeah, solidarity.
I will protest. Yeah, in solidarity, I'll be like, this is impossible.
How can the French not drink wine? Travesty.
Yeah. How can I not eat moldy cheese? I'll literally stink up a whole pair of socks and just chuck it on him. This is what you're missing out on. My stinky socks. But in cheese form.
This episode, Andrei threatens to throw socks at Macron.
Stinky socks. Be precise, Billy. It's all about being precise.
Thank you. Well, I hope you're a precise shot with your stinky socks, so I don't want that shit near me. Thank you. Speaking of shit I don't want anywhere near me.
Oh, beautiful.
Classic segue. So good.
Slow clap.
I'm flexing on people right now. It's great. Have you ever heard of the word monkey dust?
I did.
Was it from me?
Yes, it was.
Rule of thumb, Andrei, if we discuss it in the pub, then you just, pretend that didn't happen for the
What? Monkey dust? Are you dusting monkeys? Are you taking monkeys, flipping them upside down and dusting them?
Yes, I'm hanging them outside on a washing line and beating them with those carpet things.
That's violence against animals.
It is.
You can shake a monkey, but you can't beat your monkey. Yeah. You can only shake your monkey 3 times, because otherwise it's considered beating your monkey.
Moving on. So yeah, I'm not surprised you haven't heard of monkey dust until I brought it up with you previously prior to this podcast, because it's a very, very specific thing, and I hadn't heard about it for ages either. The reason it's not a hugely known thing is because it's very location specific to one area of the UK, and that area of the UK is Stoke-on-Trent. Stoke-on-Trent, for anyone who hasn't been there, is one of those economically deprived areas, we can put it that way. Basically, it's sort of just north of what I like to call the Thatcher line. Basically, if you go north of a certain point in England, everything becomes grey and miserable and depressing almost immediately. And that's because of Thatcher, for the most part.
Yeah.
The reason these people don't have any jobs or, that kind of thing. So yeah, in these desperate sort of places like Stoke-on-Trent, which has a huge poverty problem, a huge homelessness problem, and a huge drug problem, huge crime problems, quite a lot of domestic abuse. Like, there's all kinds of problems in Stoke-on-Trent.
I think as soon as poverty kicks in, all of these ones just follow.
Yeah, and this is monkey dust is almost sort of designed for that kind of environment. We'll get into that in a bit. What is monkey dust, you might be asking? What is it chemically related to? The answer is doctors aren't even sure. Basically, you're looking at me with like this sort of like blinking surprise. But yeah, basically all the stuff that the doctors managed to get off guys who would come in for overdoses on this stuff, all the stuff they had in their system was different. So they couldn't really put a sort of name on it for a long time. They sort of settled with MDPV, which stands for method deoxy blah, 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 blah. I cannot say the name out loud.
Yeah. Neither of us are.
No, it's not relevant anyway. It's monkey dust, and it's whatever sort of chemical composition doesn't really matter. The effect of which, the effects do matter. Basically, it's incredibly addictive. It's very, very difficult to get off it. It basically turns you into. It's been called the zombie drug.
Oh, aren't Americans doing the same drug?
Different. I believe theirs sort of is a sort of slightly altered version of it. I believe it's kind of similar, but they just call it bath salts.
Okay, so yeah, they just chuck a whole bunch of chemicals together and like, will this get somebody high? Steve, can you try this for me?
Oh, look, he's fucked up. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah,
that'll work.
He hasn't spoken in 17 hours. Okay, that means it probably works.
No, if it doesn't speak in 17 hours and they didn't take another dose, we have to lower the dose so we can sell him more.
Yeah. Funnily enough, you're kind of recreating the logic of these guys pretty much. There's no sort of word on who invented this, by the way. It just sort of snuck out of nowhere. It got the nickname of the zombie drug because it was tied to an incident in Stoke-on-Trent in 2012 where the police showed up, pulled a guy off this homeless dude. The homeless dude had 75% of his face bitten off. And the other guy was so mad and dangerous, he attacked the police, and the police shot him. And you may be, like, unsurprised by...
If a police officer shot somebody in the UK...
Yeah.
Wow. They don't even have guns.
They don't typically have guns, no.
Dude, that is bad.
You have to really fuck up to get shot by the UK police.
Yeah, exactly.
Beaten up? No.
No, beaten up, that's fine. That's
tased,
part of...
tased,
yeah.
Pepper sprayed.
Yeah, maced, yeah.
Being shot, that requires the guys who have guns to show up.
Yeah.
Which is rare. That doesn't usually happen.
Because it's like, in the UK, so I read this study. Well, it wasn't a study, it was an article where police officers in the UK don't want to get recruited in the patrol unit with guns. They refuse to. So now they started implementing this rule where a certain percentage of cops have to be inside of this patrol with guns, because they don't want guns. Like, you keep officers, they don't want guns because they're like, more bad things can happen if you have guns, because logic.
Yeah, because they're sensible. Yeah,
and they actually don't want to have guns, so they force, like, for example, here I think we have 4 patrol officers with guns.
Yeah,
in our region,
small team.
It's a small team, yeah. But we have a lot of cars that are not marked for some reason.
Got a lot of unmarked cars. Got a lot of regular Joes, sort of like. Yeah. I don't know, but I started seeing more of them when like people started getting deported more. I wonder if they mostly do that stuff.
They didn't find me yet, did they?
Oh god, it's a good thing we're not in the States. We get done for a joke like that.
Yeah, we another funny. I know we're moving a little bit away from it. So we're talking with Carol, and we want to go visit the United States. I genuinely, if they ask me I need to make a brand new social media.
You need a new identity and a pair of Groucho Marx glasses. No, is what you need, buddy.
Well, the thing is, I haven't posted anything on my personal social media, but my name is on a YouTube channel.
Right, yeah.
But the idea is, it's not really connected to any of my emails, except for my voice.
Yeah. So, if you were foreign of any sort of description, I would not go to the US, just in general.
Because I don't think I can get into the US right now, because I was literally thinking about it.
I don't think they'd let you in just because you're foreign. Literally.
Oh no, you can get a tourist visa. I looked it up.
On paper, you can get a tourist visa, yeah. Just don't say anything negative about the president.
Yeah, too late.
Yeah, exactly. So, even...
They don't know my face, man. It's fine. I'll start talking with a bit of an accent, and all of a sudden they think I'm French. I'm French Romanian.
You're gonna try and pull off like pretending to be French Canadian or something?
No, French Romanian.
Is that a thing?
No, it isn't. I'm just making. All right, shall we continue? Because I'm.
It's like the wine tasting club of Romania going. Oh, he knows us. We must flee. No. So, monkey dust. What does it do? What does it actually do to you?
Turn you into a monkey?
No, it does turn you into a zombie, though. Basically, it's kind of a mix of, like, ecstasy euphoria, cocaine alertness, and meth not sleeping. So, you're high as balls, you're tripping out, basically, you're delusional, and you can't sleep. So, most of the time when you see people who have been hooked on monkey dust for a long time, they look like meth addicts. They're skinny, they haven't eaten in a while, they haven't been taking care of themselves, washing, shaving, whatever. Like, they look strung out and they look dead ahead, like the 1,000-yard stare thing. There's a pretty good, like, ITV sort of short, like, documentary where they did it. We're just sort of wandering around Stoke talking to people.
Yeah.
The reason why this drug has spread as far as it has in a place that's as poor as Stoke-on-Trent is the price. Guess how much it is for just for a bag, like a gram of this stuff.
So, would the gram be a whole dose, or a gram will have multiple doses?
He'll have a few doses in it.
A few doses in it. Okay. I don't know why I asked that question. It does not help me at all. I want to say 12 quid.
Lower.
No.
Yep.
Is it in one digit?
Yep.
What? It's $6.90.
2 quid a bag.
Shut the front door.
Yep. 2 quid, available from your local corner, homeless looking, strung out drug addict guy. 2 quid a bag, this stuff. So,
and that's like multiple doses for 2 quid.
That'll last you a day. I think the effects last about 12 hours per dose. So, it's a very, very cost-effective way to get completely out of your fucking mind.
I want to see their profit margins.
I don't know if they have profit margins or they write that stuff down. They're drug dealers. They're
still, the manager in me is like, so what's your profit margins on that? How are you making money? For how much are you buying it? I'm so sorry. Like,
this kind of mindset is how criminals become organized criminals.
Okay, so I shouldn't go talk to them.
No, probably not. But yeah,
I can help them to launder their money. I have ideas.
Stop admitting to crimes.
I have never did crime, dude. The only fine I ever got was a parking fine for parking in a private park.
You see what I mean? This kind of criminal behavior cannot be allowed to continue.
It was a private parking. It wasn't private before, and all of a sudden it turned it to be private. And it was the only fine I ever got. Never got stopped by the police while driving, man. In 10 years. Not even once.
So
I'm trying to clear my name.
Now, before Andrei runs off and starts a monkey dust empire in Stoke-on-Trent, yeah, the £2 a bag thing is part of the reason why it's flourished so much and why it's sort of very difficult to get out of the... Because most of the time with like heroin or any other really addictive drug, cocaine especially, it's really hard to be a cocaine addict.
It's expensive.
It's expensive. You cannot be a homeless guy who's also addicted to cocaine.
Yeah.
Because you just can't afford it.
Yeah.
You know, crack is a bit cheaper, but it's expensive. £2 a bag. I mean, you can hustle that in like an hour panhandling on the street.
I'm sorry, can you help me?
Yeah, like that's it. Like, I want to get in the night shelter tonight. Can I have £2?
Oh yeah, I hate that one with the night shelter, especially when they ask you at 9 o'clock at night, and I'm like, dude, the night shelter closed 2 hours ago.
Yeah,
they don't admit anybody else in, and he's like, yeah, maybe a hotel. And I'm like, not my 25p, not gonna help you.
Yeah, I mean, even the cheapest, shittest hotel in the town is not going to put you up for
like,
that.
I'm gonna sound extremely heartless. I stopped giving change to homeless people altogether. Like if they beg for anything, I just no. I don't know. I'm not heartless, but I think I've been giving too much. And there's like recently I went into the town over that I used to live in. Because I don't want to say that loud. And there's this girl that she's been asking me for money for the last 10 years I lived in the UK.
Yeah.
And I saw her because I don't really go there. So I saw her and I looked at her and I'm like looking like an old friend. And I'm like, hey, you. How you been?
It's been a while. Did you get into that night shelter 10 years ago?
Yeah, yeah. I can see you have new face scars from all the drugs you do.
Oh, God. Yeah, that's depressing.
It is very depressing. Let's continue.
Yeah. I disagree with Andrei's position of not giving money to homeless people. At the end of the day, if they get fucked up, it's probably, it's on them. If you want to give them money, do it. Sometimes they'll scrounge together enough for a sandwich, and who knows, maybe yours will be the donation that changes their life. The milk of human kindness never runs out, if you ask me. But
you're so nice.
It's part of my job.
Fair enough.
But yeah, so monkey dust, I believe there's 75 deaths attributed to it in Stoke-on-Trent, I believe alone, but in the last sort of like 4 or 5 years. It kills people really quick, but the thing it does most of all is it completely fucks up your everything involving your life. Like, it's so addictive that you'll, do anything to get it. You won't show up for work.
I mean, if a dose lasted 12 hours.
Yeah, 12 hours and you're zombified. You're in outer space.
And you probably, when you're done with that, if it keeps you up, that means you didn't rest. So even if you want to be like, oh, I'll just do a little bit tonight, and I'll go to work tomorrow at 4, 12 hours, and then by the time you get out of it, you're tired, so you want to sleep. But no, you actually want to do more monkey dust.
Yeah, that's the thing. It creeps up on you like in the same way that any addiction does, but it creeps up a hell of a lot faster than most of them. And it's, like I said, so cheap, so easy to find. It's available on every street corner, and it's really difficult to quit. Yeah. It's also really hard to legislate against because, the way it works in the UK at least is if you have like a certain amount, it's like possession for personal use. And if you have more than that, it's intent to supply and you get to prison. Generally, you don't go to prison for like personal use amounts, generally. Yeah. The problem is
jails will be full.
Yeah, because everyone would be, the entire Tory party from the leaders down would be done. But maybe we should do that. Maybe we should.
I mean, it might help. But then you have only Reform UK left.
Yeah, good point. We'll just have to, crack down on child trafficking, and then we'll catch the Reform UK guys.
Yeah.
So allegedly. But as a guy who called into, I believe I'm not sure if he's a drug expert or whatever, but he was a guy who called into like a radio show about this. And he said, here's the problem. Like, okay, so like amount for personal use, that's like, what, under an ounce?
Yeah.
An ounce can fuck up an entire community. Like that could, you spread that around, that's enough doses to like wreck, entire families. And all you get for less than an ounce is a fine? That's not going to stop most people. It's not going to stop drug dealers, No,
it wouldn't stop you because you're already making bank. I still need to see the spreadsheets, but you're probably making bank on that.
Imagine you go at some chavvy and it's Stoke-on-Trent.
No, I'm gonna go to him. I'll put in a
show me your books.
I'll be like, oi, mate, listen up. I can help you out. You know, just listen, bruv. Put the knife away. We're talking man to man. You know, face to face. Not a cop. Look at me. I'm fat. Not a cop. I mean,
I'm not a cop. I'm fat. That's hilarious.
Um,
and he's probably looking at you like, yeah, bruv, yeah. But he's just taken some monkey dust, so he's out of his head. He's like, yeah, and I'm the Goblin King, and you shall bow, bitch. Ah! And then just like come at you.
That's how you get stabbed.
Yeah.
Never mind. There goes my plan.
I appreciate you trying to teach the drug dealer community better business sense, but in this situation, they seem to have it pretty locked down.
I think they got it.
Exploit the homeless. Destroy the lower class of a population anywhere they go. It's really, really messed up. Really messed up drug. Yeah, and like I said, like the worst part about it, I think, besides it just sort of being cheap and pervasive, is how quickly it can mess up people who are otherwise completely fine. Yeah. One guy who was interviewed by ITV. When I say interviewed, he was spoken to by ITV. He was high as fuck, so he was not able to give a detailed interview. But they found out a bunch of stuff from his social worker and stuff. So, about a month, 2 months before that, he'd been like a self-employed plumber, and that's like decent trade.
He went on a party and somebody just gave it to him.
Probably. I think his wife left him. He got depressed. He went out and said, "Here's some stuff that is banging cheap, mate."
Told you women is not good for us. Just say. I see the signs, man. I see the signs, man.
Oh god, you're gonna hate this next one.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, monkey dust, even though it's like, basically just the bottom dregs of all the rest of the drugs that people take, normally, even though it's such a scraped together, like, low rent thing, so cheap, it can still completely fuck your life up like that.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that comes with these sort of, synthesized, I suppose, designer drugs rather than the more natural stuff. That being said, the more natural stuff can also fuck you up, as we'll get to next.
Coming up next,
an even worse drug.
They're all bad.
They're all bad. Okay, but this one is one that even I hadn't heard of until very recently, and by very recently I mean this weekend. Not because I went out on it. I should point that out. I was not going to.
You ruined my joke.
Damn it! Sorry, I'm British. You forget that we get to the self-criticism before you can criticize us. It's a defense mechanism, and I will stand by it.
I was about to make a joke, but never mind.
I'm sorry, dude.
That's the only thing I contribute to this sort of conversations. I just make jokes,
which is good. It's necessary.
Yeah. So otherwise, stop taking my jokes. You trying to take my job, Billy?
Yes, I'm taking the immigrant's job. Yes.
All these English people taking all the immigrant jobs.
It's like you can't even be a comedian without some British person showing up and taking your jokes.
Not fair, man. Not fair.
Anyway, so the substance in question, it's called scopolamine. Scopolamine is its like chemical.
You think that got caught on video?
Yeah, probably. Oh, whatever. We'll cut it out.
You mean I'll cut it up?
Yeah. Timestamp noted. So yeah, scopolamine is the name of the drug. It has medical uses. That's why it has the fancy sort, the normal name. On the streets, it's known as Devil's Breath. It's also known as the mind control drug, also known as zombie powder. As usual with drugs, it's got like 18 different names. The one that sticks out most is Devil's Breath, for a reason I'll get to in a second. This drug is not something that you really find in the Western world, but it is very, very popular. Guess where?
South America?
Correct. Can you guess a country specifically? I know, you got
I'm so excited now. I got it from the first one. Wait. Country. Peru.
No, close.
Argentina?
No.
Venezuela?
No.
I'm running out of countries, dude.
Colombia.
Oh, Colombia.
The cocaine capital of the world.
Well, why would you do anything else? You're in Colombia.
That is a good question. You'll find out why in a second.
Okay.
Funnily enough, in one of the Vice documentaries I watched as research for this, the person being interviewed made that exact same point. It's like, why would we take this stuff for fun? We have cocaine. We've got weed and cocaine. We don't need anything else. But no, scopolamine unfortunately has a much darker sort of use, which we'll get into in a second. What is it? Well, it's actually got some medical uses, mostly for fixing motion sickness and nausea. It usually comes in one of those like stick-on patches. So like after like a surgery, after anesthetic or whatever, they'll pop you on a little patch, and it'll ease your nausea from waking up from the anesthetic. Right? Makes sense.
Yeah.
The thing is, you can't absorb a whole lot of a drug through your skin. You just can't. Like dermal implants and stuff,
Don't tell me. They scrape off the patches. Oh.
No, they don't even need to do that. That's the crazy thing. Like cocaine, it grows sort of naturally in Colombia, the plant that it's based on. It's a part of the Datura family of very, very poisonous, like nightshady kind of plants.
Okay.
It's actually, you can see it in like the Vice documentary. It's a beautiful white flower. It grows on a tree. There's fruit involved. But yeah, when it's synthesized down, it can cause hallucinations, memory loss, massive heart attacks, and make you incredibly vulnerable to suggestions from other people.
Oh.
Yeah, you can see this is why they call it the mind control drug. Some of you are out there thinking, well, if it works for this kind of thing, why didn't the CIA use it?
They did. They probably did.
They
100%.
tried.
Oh, they tried.
They tried. 100% they tried.
Because when in doubt, the CIA did it.
Yeah, the CIA have tried to make everything into a mind control drug at some point, and this is no exception. The problem they found with, actually, making sleeper agents to invade Cuba or whatever, is that basically it lasts for about 24 hours. After that, the person wakes up. And the side effects, including like the hallucinations and the blissy sort of drug trip element, I say blissy, it can go dark very quickly.
Yeah.
But the sort of insanity of the drug trip kind of makes it difficult to sort of get the truth out of people and to get like them to do, specific things.
Yeah.
It's not like you could, give it to someone and say, now overthrow the Venezuelan government.
Well, in the next 24 hours.
Yeah. Which, to be fair, might be possible. Who knows? But it's it makes you suggestible. It doesn't mean that you can be puppeted like it's not that insane.
Yeah.
But it does make you very suggestible. Have you ever seen the film Dead Man's Shoes?
I think so.
It's kind of a indie British film classic. Basically,
sounds familiar.
I'll
yeah. Say it for everybody else.
For everybody else. A guy comes back to his sort of hometown and basically starts a one-man war against a drug gang. And one of the ways that he wins that drug war is he spikes their tea. He basically takes a bunch of their drugs, pours it into their tea when they're not in the apartment, waits for them to get back, and while they're so fucked up they can't really do anything, he beats the shit out of them and murders them all. It's a great scene. It's really, really fucked up and dark.
It's very British.
It's very, very British. But the point was, the reason he was able to, hurt all these guys without them fighting back.
Because they all drank tea.
Because they all drank the spiked tea.
Oh, okay. I thought just general drinking tea. I thought this was an ad campaign.
Tea is the opiate of the people.
No.
It keeps us from rising up in revolution.
Tailors, please get in contact with us for sponsorship.
I'm going to be sponsored by this. This podcast is brought to you by Yorkshire Tea, which is grown in Kenya. Anyway,
it's hilarious.
But yeah, basically, this drug, scopolamine, induces that kind of really suggestive, really fucked up, drugged out state. You can't really say no to people. So, as you can imagine, in a place like Colombia, which hasn't had a functioning government since maybe the early 60s, the police are basically just a gang. Then there's the actual gangs. Then there's, the people vying for revolutionary groups vying for control of the government.
Which are practically a gang.
Which are basically a gang. Colombia is basically, being turbo fucked on all sides by all manner of conflict and has been for over 50 years. There's no real, push to get rid of this stuff, and it will be very difficult to do for a reason I'll get into. So, what does taking scopolamine feel like? Apparently, it can feel either really, really good or really, really horrible. It depends.
There's no middle ground. You can't just feel, nah.
Yeah, no.
Like, did you take it? I'm like, yeah, it wasn't, nah.
Even a tiny dose of this stuff basically puts you in a zombie, I will be open to suggestion from anything sort of, fate. And as you can imagine, when a place is basically run by criminals, this stuff gets used a lot.
Yeah.
It's basically often used by, a guy who is like a pimp will have his two prostitutes,
Ladies of night.
Yes, his two employees of questionable, was it ladies?
Qualification.
The best word I ever used to describe sex workers was ladies of negotiable affection.
Fair enough.
But what these girls would do and what the guy would tell them to do basically is like, okay, right, that guy over there looks rich. He's like a tourist. He's come here to party or whatever. You go up to them, like, make some eyes at him, make some moves. As soon as he's not looking, either put it in his drink or blow it in his face. Either way works. Like, you can blow this drug, like, as a powder from your hand into somebody's face, like, on the street. If they get enough of it up their nose, they're yours. And all of a sudden, you can basically do what you want to them for, like, 24 hours. Most of the time, this involves you getting robbed. Like, they'll take you to your ATM. You'll put the card in and put in your PIN yourself. They'll just have to tell you to. You will take them back to your flat and give them all your shit for free. Obviously, this is also involved in a lot of sexual crimes as well.
Oh yeah, I was about to say that. Like,
yeah. It's kind of, unfortunately, the perfect date rape drug, if that makes sense. Because one of the things I listed, eagle-eyed listeners, memory loss. Quite a lot of the time, they don't remember how they took.
You don't remember how you got there.
Yeah, you might even not remember who you were hanging out with before that happened. So it's hard to. With it.
And it's already Colombia, so.
Yeah, I mean, no one's going to look too hard.
Nobody's going to care.
Yeah. Basically, because you don't remember anything that happens to you in that sort of period of time, you just sort of wake up in like an empty flat, with one of your kidneys missing and like a little sign that says you have 5 hours to go to the hospital. Because of all that, like the memory loss and stuff and the shock and the trauma of it, it's really, really difficult to then find out who did this to you. And odds are they're probably some sort of crime boss and you don't want to fuck with them anyway.
Yeah, because you're in Colombia.
Yeah. I don't know because Colombia being Colombia, they're not exactly taking good crime stats on this. But I believe the number of incidents that has involved scopolamine and robbery and some sort of crime, I believe it's over 50,000. That's like, in the last sort of 10 years or so. It's still a huge problem now. It hasn't really gone away.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons and the thing that sort of blew my mind about the Vice documentary was it grows on plants that are freely available throughout the city. They grow everywhere. How the fuck do you ever police something like that? You kind of can't.
You can't go out and be like, all right, we're burning everything like the Inquisition.
Yeah, because you burn it, it'll probably poison a bunch of people as well. So it would take a massive government effort, but Colombia doesn't really have a government, so
it's never going to go away. I'm surprised they never actually left Colombia, because what's stopping you from actually importing a plant?
That's a good question.
Because you don't even have to import it. You can just, no, stop getting stupid ideas to people, Andrei.
You're managing their money. You're sorting out supply chains.
Dude, I'm going to jail. I didn't do anything, but I think I'm going to end up in jail.
I'm going to start calling you Andrei the Numbers.
The accountant. Just call me the accountant.
You're running numbers rackets for the mob.
Yeah, actually, no.
No. Let's talk about your association with organized crime at a later date, my friend.
I don't have association, but I'm willing to listen.
But yeah, this drug, scopolamine, it's like a really, really short-handed way. I mean, we've mostly been talking about stuff that people take for fun. But the thing is, spice and monkey dust and scopolamine, they all are used to spike people who are unaware.
Yeah.
Spice is put into weed. We got people who came in, they just smoked one joint. It was like,
it was just enough.
Just enough spice in there to fuck them up for a good few months. Monkey dust, I mean, it's basically made out of all the crap from other drugs, so you can cut other drugs with it if you want to.
Yeah.
It's super cheap. If I was going to, sell some bad heroin, that's what I'd probably cut it with, because it's cheaper than fucking flour at this point, And scopolamine is just, it's just kind of a constant under the surface sort of criminal problem. Let's just sort of underneath the already massive cocaine use in the country.
Yeah.
I mean, people get spiked with this all the time, and it's usually tourists, but every once in a while they occasionally spike the wrong person, someone who knows enough about the local area to find who did this to them and exact street justice, because that's the kind of justice that you get in Colombia.
Oh yeah, because it's like, if nobody's going to do anything about it anyway, so why wouldn't you do street justice?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, if the police aren't going to help you, what have you got? You got two hands, You got two hands and a bunch of mates with guns.
Here's a strong question. How can we end this on a cheery note? Didn't think that one through, did you?
No. No, I honestly didn't. There really isn't a cheerful way to end this because, like, with spice, there's a pretty simple solution, right? Legalize weed.
Yeah.
It won't be like, oh, well, here's the much more dangerous and more expensive fake shit. Do you want that? No, I'll just take the real shit.
So we'll just stick with alcohol then.
Yeah. With monkey dust, there's pretty easy, like, solve the homelessness crisis, get, like, people off the streets, do really serious drug rehab, that kind of thing. There's a solution there. It's a long, complicated solution, but there's a solution that's possible there. With scopolamine, I can't think of one. It grows like round the corner. Any guy can make it in his garage,
Just do like, I'm gonna make a reference to Warhammer 40k. In the name of the Emperor, burn it all down.
Just do a great Grand Crusade to unify all of Colombia.
No, because in Warhammer 40k, when they lost the planet that it's unredeemable, they do this mass bombardment of the whole planet. So it kills absolutely everything on the planet.
Oh, I see. So nuke from orbit.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
I don't think we can do that to Colombia. I'd rather,
I mean, it will solve the cocaine problem as well at the same time. I mean, it will be just a second side effect of it.
To be fair, I'm surprised the Americans didn't already do that, but...
Yeah.
The Americans...
Well, you know why they didn't do it? Because they didn't mess with their boats.
That's true.
The last country that got nuked by the Americans, they messed with their boats. They have a thing
They're very protective of their boats.
Yeah.
No, the funny thing is, like, Americans, America says they're fighting the war on drugs. We all know.
That was funny, Billy. You're right.
Yeah, I know, right? It's a classic joke, but it still works. They made more out of the drugs trade than anybody. That's how the CIA basically funded itself for years.
Yeah.
And that's probably part of the reason why Colombia has never been stable, at least partially. I'd have to look more into the history of it. It might be one of those, like, places where because of, this and cocaine growing just out of the ground in the same country, it becomes just very, very difficult to regulate. Like, it's almost impossible at this point.
Yeah, no, it fits how you said. It's a plant that grows freely everywhere. You can't regulate.
I suppose, like, maybe you could, because cocaine has a similar thing. Like, you have to, like, cook it with diesel fuel and ether, and there's, like, a complicated, like, chemical process to actually make the white powder.
But if you eat the coca leaves, you still get a little bit high.
Yeah, just not, like, crazy,
not cocaine high.
Not cocaine high. You just sort of get buzzed a bit. I think that's the way to describe it.
Because they use that as they use in coffee nowadays. So it's...
Yeah, and it's also good for warding off altitude sickness, apparently.
I don't know. Next time I end up in Colombia and I have altitude sickness, I'll just grab some coca leaves.
Just randomly wandering through the Colombian mountains, as you do.
Who doesn't, I need to present my numbers to somebody. I know a guy there. I need to see a guy about some numbers.
Just don't wear a nice suit to the business deal because you might get targeted by some girls with scopolamine.
There you go. On that cheerful note.
On that cheerful note, that is where we will leave our roundup of, like, possibly the worst substances in the world. If you can think of some more that I haven't mentioned, put them in the comments.
Yeah, we'd love to hear
bully
about
us into covering them, like...
That wouldn't take very long. Well, yeah, and that's really no. Fuck Elon Musk, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you for joining us, everybody. Hopefully the next one will be slightly less depressing.
Hopefully.